Hello, Contrarians listeners and Contrarians watchers. Here we are with the big finale of the patron takeover. It doesn't mean that patrons are going to stop choosing movies for us to watch. It just means that we're going to space them out a little more. This final pick comes from patron Robert Stewart, also known as Stu from Stu World Order. And I have, Alex, a Stu World Order cup. Look at
Nice.
that. Yeah. So
Tie-in.
he wants us to talk about Dawn of the Dead, not the Zack Snyder remake, but the much longer George Romero original. We already did the episode, and I still have trouble reconciling that little bit of information that Zack Snyder somehow remade a movie and made it shorter. But we did the original. We found it available out there, just not through regular streaming platforms. You can pay a pretty penny for the DVD, or you can just do a search on YouTube. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. It's your life.
Got some saints out there putting it up for free.
Yeah, but there's several different versions. What we did was the theatrical, so that's a little over 2 hours, 2:06, I think, 2:06.
Something like that, yeah.
It's up to you if you want to watch the 2 hours and 30 minutes, but that's not the one that we're covering on the show, and that's not the one that we're gonna talk about here. But we are talking about Dawn of the Dead. We have quotes. It's super fresh on the tomato meter, so I have fresh quotes. We have trivia. We have the Josh Gad Minute. And of course, since you're listening to this, you know how the show works. On the main feed, on the actual podcast episode, we're going to be trashing Dawn of the Dead because it's super fresh. So we're going to treat it as if it was super rotten. Let's do the quotes first, Alex, and we're going to start with a bang. A bang named Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times, who says, Dawn of the Dead is one of the best horror films ever made, and as an inescapable result, one of the most horrifying. It is gruesome, sickening, disgusting, violent, brutal, and appalling. Alex, this is the same Roger Ebert that didn't like Friday the 13th.
And, I mean, we know Raj made some questionable decisions, but just worth calling out. As discussed in the episode, Ebert had a pretty solid hand in getting this movie to the United States. The 126-minute cut for English language speaking territories premiered in the United States on April 7th, 1979 at the USA Film Festival in Dallas, Texas, having been selected for the event by film critic, you guessed it, Roger Ebert. So yeah, it's funny because his views on horror movies always, I should say, like ones I like. He really liked Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
He loved Halloween. I think he had it in his top 10 movies of that year. He obviously loves this. And he hated most of like the slashers that I, fawn over. But as has been referenced many times in the past, his reviews of them were so biting and so Ebertonian that they're still to this day fun to watch. And I mention this all the time, just in case it's the first time listening. One of the releases of Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, they had such a good humor about it. One of the special features was Ebert's like scathing review on it.
I love it.
Yeah, it starts with from the geniuses at Paramount.
All right. Well, Roger Ebert was not the only person going gaga over Dawn of the Dead. We have Eric Henderson from Slant Magazine who says, Dawn of the Dead's most unsettling aspect is in how it shows us how little we've changed as a culture. Sounds like Eric is reviewing this from a time closer to ours and not the original release. And
we have this discussion also.
Yeah. I mean, we have changed, though, because we lament...
Now we have cell phones.
Yes, but we also lament the fact that mall culture is not what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
We've been left behind by whatever it is that kids do these days that does not include going to the mall. Now, if you go to the mall, it's just people like Alex and I shuffling around the hallways. Still... It is a twisted celebration of mall life, and as many people point out, it's, I guess, a criticism of capitalism. Whatever, man. It's just zombies eating people.
Yeah.
People fighting zombies. All right. Steve Biodrowski from Cinefantastique says, this sequel to Night of the Living Dead, 1968, abandoned the shadowy black and white creepiness of its progenitor in favor of a brightly lit color canvas that was bigger, broader, and bloodier. Do you think this movie works the same in the Chrome edition, the Dawn of the Dead black and white Blu-ray?
One of the things I have here for one of the trivia facts was Tom Savini chose the gray color for the zombie's skin since Night of the Living Dead was in black and white and the zombie's skin tone was not depicted. He later said it was a mistake because many of them ended up looking quite blue on film.
They do. They do.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad
So,
that we're all on the same page there.
I'm sure if there's not like an official one, there's some fan that's made like a black and white version of this movie.
I always reference Steven Soderbergh whenever something like this comes up because he seems to have a lot of time in his hands and he does those fan edits, except that they're not just regular fans. It's Steven Soderbergh, who's like a fucking filmmaker.
Yeah, he did the Psycho mashup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he did. I don't remember if I mentioned it on that Psycho episode, but he did Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think he made it black and white, and just because why not?
I mean, let's be honest. If you and I were in the position of him and had the money and the resources and the time, that's the type of shit we would do.
Yeah, people are like, shouldn't you make another movie instead of wasting time with other people's?
It's like, if Sasha Grey will make a movie with me, then I will. But otherwise,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Here's another. We're gonna close with another well-known name here in Contrarian Central, Walter Chaw from Film Freak Central. For My Money, John Carpenter's Halloween, released the same year, is smarter, sharper, and more influential. I mean, he gave it a red tomato, but he went Team Alex, and he said, "I don't care so much about zombies. I want the one guy that will just methodically kill people one by one." I mean, I don't even have to ask, Alex. Obviously, you agree. You think Halloween is a superior movie.
Yes.
Is it more influential, though? Because that's the part that kind of stuck with me. You know, what Halloween did for the slasher genre, I guess.
It's horror in general. Yeah, I guess I don't know. It depends on what metrics you would use to measure that, or like what you would point to. I mean, obviously the Halloween franchise, I don't even have to look at the numbers to tell you it's made more than George A. Romero's of the Living Dead, of the Dead series.
Yeah, but I think that culturally, and I don't know one way or the other, but I was thinking everybody uses Romero zombies as this sort of benchmark, this point of reference that everyone, it's either, oh, it's like the Romero zombies or it's not like the Romero zombies. But either way, you go back to the Romero zombies, and the real like influential one should be Night of the Living Dead. But I kind of feel like it really hit the mainstream with Dawn of the Dead, and so
clearly, yeah.
Everything else that's zombie related that happens later, maybe you can point to Dawn of the Dead. But then maybe you can say that horror wise, like when it comes to like slashers and I don't know, serial killers, can you point back to Michael Myers and go like, well, that's the benchmark too?
In our Haddonfield Nights one, I'm blanking. Bay of Blood may have been the name. Like the first attributed slasher movies were like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Bay of Blood, and I think there's one other one before Halloween. But obviously Halloween iconically brought forth the idea of the marketable serial killer. Because Texas Chainsaws, you would say it was just, and it's true, it was just an extremely unpleasant thing that happened, and it just ended, and it was like, well, that sucked. Not the movie, but that, like, that what those people went through. Whereas Halloween obviously ended with the intent of a sequel, and then with this discussion, then you start talking about, okay, well, like George A. Romero versus John Carpenter, who had the bigger like legacy, who had the bigger impact. Everyone knows zombies. Everyone knows that, and like you said, this is kind of like this was a keystone achievement in that genre that is still being mimicked today. Whereas honestly, I think the hockey mask is more iconic than Michael's the shape, and so
Jason Voorhees has entered the ring.
Well, and again, being clear here, there's no Friday the 13th movie that's as good of a movie as this or the original Halloween. But yeah, that's an interesting discussion, because then Halloween's not anywhere near as violent as this, and so this one is like an achievement with like practical effects and makeup and all that shit, whereas Halloween is like this outstanding achievement in not, I don't want to say not needing that, but then like when you don't have that, how do you make it scary using like cinematography and lighting and shit like that? So I think they together are, and it's an appropriate comparison because they came out the same year. It's not a yin and yang. It's like I think they're peanut butter and jelly to one another in terms of like cheese and burger, in terms of the contributions they made to their genre, and also influencing just the medium in general, because obviously the influences and things done in these two movies go way beyond the parameters of horror.
And then, they were both
Perfect,
remade.
man. That was like I could run for president. You asked me a question and I didn't answer it, but I talked for 5 minutes.
I was going to put the button, which is that both of them, both Halloween and Dawn of the Dead, were remade by visionary filmmakers. So even that, they have that in common as well.
Two men who know how to write women characters perfectly.
All right, so that's it for quotes, Alex. Before we go to trivia, this is it's time for the Josh Gad Minute. This shouldn't be too complicated. We don't have that many characters. You're not gonna waste Gad as a zombie. So,
No.
So what do you do with Josh Gad here?
Okay, so Josh Gad is. You're not taking Ken Faree out. You could make him Roger or Steven, or he could be in the biker gang. He could take like the Tom Savini role.
So you would replace Savini?
He would be the no. Savini needs his him being in this movie, getting his flowers, as they say. He deserves that role. So I think Josh Gad probably has some qualities that like endear you to him, and I think he could pull off the Roger thing. And when he does, get bit and succumbs to it, it could be like a really sad moment in the movie.
Yeah,
because everyone loved old Gaddy.
Yeah, and you can see him, standing up with the makeup, and it's
yeah.
He gets to be a zombie for a minute. The
Ken
one shot.
Faree says like, "Merry Christmas, motherfucker," and then shoots him in the head.
There you go. You get the best of both worlds. You get Josh Gad playing one of the main characters, and you get Josh Gad as a zombie for a couple of shots. So, all right, take us to trivia, Alex.
Directed, written by George A. Romero, music by Goblin. Dario Argento had his fingers in the pie as well. Premiered on September 1st of 1978 in Italy. Didn't get a wider release in America until April 13th of 1979, which is 6 months later. And you better believe in the episode, Julio and I fawn over the idea that this thing was just out there and not leaked on the internet. Budget of a little under $700,000 with a box office return of $66 million. So definitely, as we mentioned, was a financial success for its day.
How much was Roger Ebert's cut?
$62 million. So Dario Argento was an admirer of George A. Romero's work and vice versa. When Argento heard that Romero was contemplating a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, he insisted that Romero come out to Argento's native Rome to write the script without distraction. Romero knocked out the script in 3 weeks, and though Argento read the script as it came out, he left all the writing to Romero. Argento also provided most of the film's soundtrack, and in return for the rights to edit the European version of the film, assisted in raising the necessary funds. So that's brought up in passing in the episode that Argento did some film editing on this, and obviously, like it says there, he for the European markets did the cut. So a Clash of the Titans there. Not really a clash. Collab of the Titans.
A collab of the Titans. But that is so... I mean, I don't know how often that kind of stuff happens, where somebody's like, hey, among filmmakers, I mean, like I know, like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez are bros.
Yeah.
And it's like, does that happen? Tarantino's like, hey, come hang out. You can write your next movie at my house. I mean, just chill. And I'll read your pages as you...
Now there's so many legalities and like things that, might be hard to. I made those eggs for you so I get the story by credit, all right? The MPAA had threatened to impose an X rating if Romero didn't make cuts. Romero did not want to cut the film, and he was adamant against an X rating due to the stigma of hardcore pornography. Clockwork Orange was the first X-rated movie to be nominated for Best Picture, I believe. But it did have a stigma, and that's still, porn to this day is still triple X. That's how you get people to pull off the highway. Like, whoa, what's going on over here? In the end, Romero was able to persuade his distributors to release the film with no rating, although on all advertising and trailers, there was a disclaimer that in effect read that while there was no explicit sex in the film, the movie was of such violent nature that no one under 17 would be admitted. Is there still a stigma around NC-17 movies, you think?
From like really old people, I think at this point. There is no way people are. Well, I don't know. You know what? We have the benefit of not having kids. I think that maybe once you have kids, you become a little more protective when it comes to
Well, I
ratings.
mean,
But
there's obviously economically or business wise because certain you don't get picked up if you're NC-17 by certain theaters. Like Cinemarks and AMC's don't show them, do they?
yes, but that is again because most people going to movie theaters are really old people. So it, yeah, the people that don't care about the NC-17 are not going to movie theaters anyway. They're just streaming everything, so it doesn't matter.
Every once in a while, one slips through the cracks. Shame got a pretty wide release, and that even
Crash.
got and Shame even got like a Blu-ray, a DVD release through 20th Century Fox that was like available in stores, which is pretty rare. Like most NC-17 movies that you're going to pick up just going to the store are going to be like part of the Criterion collection or something. So I know that was kind of part of the deal or the big deal that I don't know her name, Darmus.
Ana de Armas.
Yeah, when she got nominated for Maryland, it was the first time in X amount of years or some shit that an NC-17 acting performance specifically got nominated. So
Mm-hmm.
George A. Romero fighting the good fight 50 years ago.
I think that hopefully, not hopefully, I mean, that kind of, that made it more enticing for that audience. I think
Oh
that
yeah,
when you see that warning saying, "Hey, just so you know, it's really violent, so maybe you shouldn't watch it,"
yeah.
then
Well, we talk about it a little bit, I think, in the actual episode, but that Cronenberg obviously leaned way into that with the marketing for Crash of like,
mm-hmm.
the imagery and whatnot. The outdoor scene where hunters, emergency crew, and soldiers are shooting at zombies was done using local volunteers. I think I made this joke because those guys just looked like bumpkin hunters. Several local hunters arrived on scene with their own weapons. The local National Guard division showed up in full gear, and local emergency crew, police, fire, and ambulance were present, all voluntarily. Talk about something that would not work the same today.
I guess they're all big fans of Night of the Living Dead.
The one police chief, shit, Night of the Living Dead was his first movie. I was okay, I can do this because he did a few after that. But then you would have like the one pompous police lieutenant who showed up there, and everyone's like you said, big fans of Night of the Living Dead, and this guy is like, There's Always Vanilla, the rom com that George A. Romero directed. It's like that's his real masterpiece. That's why I'm here.
He's there with like an old script of "There's Always Vanilla." Can I get the sign?
I got this at Telluride. Galen Ross, who plays Francine, refused to scream in the film. She felt that Francine was a strong female character, and if she screamed, that strength would be lost. She told this to George A. Romero once when he told her to scream, and he never asked again. That is pretty interesting because that's obviously something that the genre is known for: is women running from the bad guy and screaming for their life. And there's a phrase for that called scream queens. I mean, that's part of the casting. I remember like watching a behind the scenes thing of the 2003 Texas Chainsaw where they're just like shooting Jessica Biel and they're just like telling her scream, scream, and she's just like wrenching her vocal cords.
Like, I understand
I
where she
like
was
the
coming
idea.
from, but
Yeah,
I don't think that screaming in a horrifying situation diminishes the power of the character. Like, I can see what. I guess it's all the way that you phrase it, Because if she says, "I want to scream because they all scream," let's make it special by not having me scream. I'm like, okay, that's a good argument. Her saying, "I don't want to scream because that makes the character weak." I'll be like, no, she's being chased by zombies. I would be screaming. Anybody would be screaming.
yeah.
So, I don't know. It would have been interesting if she had said, "I'm not screaming, and I want Ken Foree to scream."
That's that's something that like Triple H or Hulk Hogan would pull. Like if this was like something written for them, they'd be like, I wouldn't do that, dude. Famously, when one of the WWE video games came out in the mid 2000s, there was like a notice sent to everyone that like a review copy was sent to that said, in your material and your reviews released for this, at no point can a Triple H look in a vulnerable position. It's like it's a fucking video game, dude. Ever the thrifty man and very frugal, is that the right word,
Mm-hmm.
with his money and his props, Tom Savini used the same dummy throughout the course of filming. During this time, it was blown up, burnt, shot, beaten, amongst other things. This is Famously in Maniac, the movie he would do a couple years after this, he reused the dummy that he made, or the prop that he made for Mrs. Voorhees in the first Friday the 13th. And like, if you're not a psychopath like me, you don't know what that means. But I read that before I watched Maniac, and I laughed really hard at this part where it's like this decapitated body, but it's wearing the same sweater from Friday the 13th and shit. And it's just like, you're just like, fuck it, I got it in the truck, let's use it, you know? So I've always been on this podcast glowing about Tom Savini, and that's part of it. Is like, that's such like rock and roll style filmmaking.
It's like making movies is expensive. I mean, you gotta save money where you can.
Tom Savini, head of makeup, was unhappy with how the blood mix, which was produced by 3M, photographed. It looked fluorescent, which that is definitely the case. It is not a realistic looking blood in this.
Mm-hmm.
But George A. Romero felt it was perfect for the film's comic book style, which is, I think it works because, like we talk about, the zombies are very, like, they look like Violet from Willy Wonka. And I don't want to piss anybody off. What's the Gene Wilder one called? Is that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Is that the name of the movie?
It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay, there you go. I know it has Gene Wilder in it, so you know what I'm talking about. But they're very luminous with their colors, and so for that, I think the really comedically red blood. Because let's be honest, like with the way this movie is, if it was like extremely realistic gore, it would be like, what the fuck? Because everything in this movie is so bright to begin with that I think it works really well.
It would really bum you out every time that one of the guys dies.
It's like high tension, like realism, but with a big purple face. The most profitable film of the Dead series, which I think is pretty obvious. And in closing here, again, just being mindful of production costs. In order to save, George A. Romero had all the 35mm film stock developed into 16mm and used that as his work reel. After choosing the scenes and takes he wanted, he had those alone developed into 35mm prints for the master reel. So this is still very much alive with what we see today, though not on a budget. This is like, it's the Nolan style now, with, you know, just take your normal shit and then figure out what you want on the IMAX film and blow it up. So
there you go.
From Dawn of the Living Dead to Oppenheimer, the spirit of true filmmaking is still very much alive.
Man, what George Romero could have done with Nolan's budgets.
Jesus.
Tom Savini can have all the dummies he wants.
All right, Julio. We talk about this one, a very thorough discussion, as there is much to discuss about it. So check out the episode.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead. If you haven't seen it, like I said, it's out there. It's part of horror history, zombie history, and now it's part of Contrarians history because it's super fresh. So that means that we do our best to be very negative about it. And then we tell you how we really feel. And if you think that at some point Zack Snyder remake gets brought up, of course it does. I brought it up at the beginning of this video.
I should have had a stopwatch to see how long it took Julio to bring it up initially.
I had never seen the original before. I've seen the remake from Zack Snyder, so it had to come up. And then for Alex, it was kind of a revisit, but you hadn't seen it in a while, right? You'd never seen it all the way through. You weren't sure. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in Real Talk and in Contrarians Corner. So watch Dawn of the Dead, listen to the episode, and then just get ready because we're closing October with our usual anniversary celebration. So we're going to be giving out awards to all the movies that we covered on the show since November 2022. It's a lot of movies, but it'll be fun. So keep an eye out. We'll have a little video before the awards ceremony, and that will be just different, but interesting anyway. So
an aperitif.
Yeah, excellent work. Very, very good. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for checking out the show, and we'll talk to you again soon.